The EMS's Mercy glided through the star-speckled void like an enormous white whale, adorned with glowing red crosses that should have screamed, "Don't shoot me," in any civilized language across the galaxy. This was humanity's pride and joy, a converted colony ship nearly 2 kilometers long, retrofitted with enough medical tech to qualify as a small floating planet of healing. The Mercy wasn't just a hospital ship, it was a statement. We humans may be new to the galactic community, but we're here to help patch you up when you inevitably do something stupid. Dr. Jack Finnegan stood at the viewport in Operating Theater 12, sipping what the ship's synthesizers optimistically labeled as coffee. In reality, it tasted like someone had described coffee to a machine that had never encountered the concept before, but was really enthusiastic about trying new things. "I swear," he muttered to no one in particular, "if the Krell ambassador regrows another limb during surgery, I'm putting in for early retirement. Do you know how disconcerting it is to amputate something only to watch it sprout back, like some kind of science experiment?" The young nurse beside him, Talia, fresh out of Earth's Xenomedicine Academy, merely smiled. She was still at that adorable stage where she found everything about alien physiology fascinating rather than a personal affront to medical textbooks. "Their cellular regeneration is remarkable, Doctor," she offered helpfully. "Remarkable is your grandmother's cookie recipe, Talia. The Krell are just showing off." Finnegan drained his cup and crushed it dramatically. 300 years of medical school, and I'm basically reduced to gardening. The ship's PA system crackled to life. "All medical personnel, prepare for incoming casualties from the Praxian mining accident. Estimated arrival in 43 minutes. Finnegan sighed. Praxians, rock people who work with rocks, who somehow always manage to be surprised when rocks fall on them. At least they don't regrow. All right, let's... The first blast hit before he could finish his sentence. The impact threw him against the viewport hard enough to make him wonder if his ribs were considering a trial separation from his sternum. Alarms blared as the ship's artificial gravity flickered, sending surgical instruments floating in elegant, deadly ballots across the room. "What the hell was that?" he growled, pulling himself upright. The second blast answered his question as the viewport darkened automatically, protecting them from the blinding flash outside. Through the polarization, Finnegan could see them Sorlaxian warships, their distinctive barbed silhouettes unmistakable against the starfield. "They're shooting at us," Talia whispered, her professional composure cracking. "But we're a hospital ship. We're clearly marked. We're neutral." Finnegan helped her to her feet as the emergency systems kicked in. Apparently, the Sorlaxians skipped the day they taught interstellar humanitarian law at bad guy school. The ship's captain's voice cut through the chaos, remarkably steady despite the circumstances. "This is Captain Diane Maxwell of the Earth Medical Services Ship Mercy to approaching Sorlaxian vessels. We are an unarmed medical facility with over 3,000 patients aboard. Please cease fire immediately." The only response was another volley that struck the ship's central hub. The lights flickered and died, replaced seconds later by the dim red glow of emergency power. "All personnel," Maxwell's voice returned, now tight with controlled panic, "move all critical patients to emergency life support pods. This is not a drill." Finnegan was already moving, barking orders with the precision of someone who'd prepared for disasters but never quite believed they'd happen. "Talia, start prepping evacuation pods. Priority to life support dependent patients." As they worked frantically to save their most vulnerable charges, the ship's communications officer made one final broadcast, the one that would change the course of galactic politics forever. "Mayday, Mayday. This is EMS Mercy. We are under unprovoked attack by Sorlaxian forces. We have over 3,000 patients and no weapons systems. Earth Fleet Command, please respond. They're targeting our life support systems. Their target." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only static in its wake. 4 light years away, in the underground complex beneath what tourists still thought was just the Pentagon, the mood in Earth Fleet Command could best be described as apocalyptically pissed off. Admiral Liza Iron Steel stood motionless before the holographic display showing the last known coordinates of the EMS Mercy. Her steel-gray hair was pulled back in a severe bun that seemed to tighten with her increasing fury. At 62, she'd seen enough combat to know when restraint was appropriate. This was not one of those times. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice carrying the kind of calm that makes everyone in earshot instinctively check their life insurance policies. The communications officer, sweat beading on his forehead despite the room's precise temperature control, replayed the final transmission from the Mercy. When it cut off into static, Steele finally moved, turning to face the assembled Emergency Response Council. "That's a hospital ship," she said unnecessarily. 3,000 patients, 600 medical staff, clearly marked, unthreatening, unarmed. Each word fell like an executioner's axe. UN Secretary General Okoro raised his hand tentatively. "Admiral, we must consider diplomatic channels first. The Orlaxian hegemony claims this was a case of mistaken identity." Mistaken identity. Steele's laugh could have frozen nitrogen. "Those crosses are visible from 2 systems away, and our EF broadcasts on all standard frequencies, including theirs. No, they knew exactly what they were hitting. But their ambassador insists," began the diplomatic corps representative. "Their ambassador," Steele cut in, "is currently enjoying our hospitality, drinking our coffee, and breathing our air while his government blasts a ship full of sick and injured beings into atoms. Forgive me if I find his insistence somewhat compromised by those circumstances." General Hammond from the traditional military forces cleared his throat. "We have conventional response options, Admiral. The Fifth Fleet could be mobilized within." "Oh, please," Steele rolled her eyes. "You want to send ships that we deliberately designed to look impressive but function at half capacity? The ones we've been parading around for the galactic community to see?" The room fell silent. Most of the junior officers present had the decency to look uncomfortable. This was heading into territory that, officially, didn't exist. "Madam Secretary," Steele addressed the civilian head of defense directly, "I believe this situation meets the threshold for Protocol Omega." Several gasps punctuated the silence. Protocol Omega was the classified directive that had been established when humanity first made contact with alien civilizations, a directive that authorized the revelation and deployment of Earth's real military capabilities. The ones kept hidden behind a facade of outdated technology and limited firepower. Secretary Tomlinson removed her glasses slowly. "Admiral, we've maintained this deception for nearly 30 years. Revealing our true capabilities could destabilize the entire sector. With respect, Madam Secretary, they attacked a hospital ship." Steele tapped the holographic display, zooming in on the last image of the Mercy as plasma fire tore through its medical bays. "If this doesn't cross our red line, we might as well not have one." The political ramifications, began one of the presidential advisors. "Will be significant," Steele finished for him. "But consider the ramifications of doing nothing. Every hostile power in the galaxy will see that you can attack Earth's humanitarian vessels with impunity. The next attack won't be on a hospital ship, it'll be on a colony, or Earth itself." Secretary Tomlinson shared a long look with Secretary General Okoro before turning back to the Admiral. "What exactly are you proposing?" Steele's smile was not reassuring. "A proportional response." "Which means?" Okoro pressed. "The Ezerlaxians have a saying, show 1 claw, hide 10. Steele's eyes glinted. "Time to show them all our claws." After 3 hours of increasingly heated debate, The council voted. It wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive enough. Protocol Omega was authorized. As the meeting adjourned, General Hammond approached Steele privately. "You've been waiting for this, haven't you? A chance to take the gloves off." Steele's expression softened fractionally. "Jim, in all my years, I've never wanted to use these weapons. But if there's one thing I've learned from history, it's that bullies only understand one language." "And what's that?" "Consequences," Steele replied, already walking toward the door. "Overwhelming, undeniable consequences. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in caverns that didn't appear on any public map, Captain Maya Rodriguez received the activation code with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. 5 years commanding a ship that officially didn't exist had been an exercise in patience. Now, finally, the FS Consequences would see action. "Captain," her XO interrupted her thoughts, "fleet-wide activation codes are authenticated. Admiral Steele requests your presence in the virtual briefing." Rodriguez nodded sharply. "Tell engineering to bring the Alcubierre drives to full capacity. I want weapon systems hot-checked and ready for deployment the moment we clear the lunar shadow." As her crew scrambled to their stations with the eager efficiency of people who trained relentlessly for a day they weren't sure would ever come, Rodriguez made her way to the secure communications chamber. The holographic projection of Admiral Steele materialized before her, simultaneously appearing in command centers across Earth's secret fleet. "Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished beings of alternative identification," Steele began without preamble. "Today we stop pretending to be the galactic equivalent of a friendly golden retriever and remind everyone that retrievers descend from wolves." Scattered chuckles echoed through the fleet's command chambers. "The EMS Mercy has been destroyed with all hands presumed lost," Steele continued, her voice hardening. "For those of you who haven't been briefed, that's 3,000 patients and 600 medical personnel. Beings from 42 different species, including 300 Zorlaxians who were receiving treatment." She paused to let that sink in. Yes, they attacked a ship that was treating their own people. Diplomatic attempts to resolve this have been met with excuses, denials, and thinly veiled threats. The holographic display shifted to show the Zorlaxian fleet formation near the remains of the Mercy. Intelligence suggests they believe they've struck a significant blow against a vulnerable target with minimal consequences. Their battle group has not dispersed. In fact, they appear to be celebrating. Rodriguez felt her blood boil at the thought. "Your mission is threefold," Steele continued. "First, neutralize the Zorlaxian battle group. Second, secure the wreckage of the Mercy and recover any potential survivors or remains. Third, make it abundantly clear that attacking medical facilities is the kind of spectacular miscalculation that ends civilizations." The Admiral's hologram gestured, and a complex battle plan materialized. "You'll deploy in 3 waves. First wave will be conventional appearing forces. Let them think they're facing standard Earth fleet vessels. Captain Tanner, that's your group. Make it convincing, but don't get your people killed." A grizzled captain nodded from another holographic window. "Second wave, Captain Rodriguez, you'll bring in the consequences in your strike group once the enemy is fully committed. Use of Nova-class weaponry is authorized, but restricted to military targets only." Rodriguez couldn't help the predatory smile that spread across her face. 5 years of running stealth drills and weapons tests in the outer solar system were about to pay off. Third wave will be support and recovery, led by Captain Ojukwu. Your primary focus is finding survivors, but you're cleared hot if the situation requires it. Admiral Steele's expression became grave. "I shouldn't have to say this, but I will anyway. We are not monsters. We do not target civilians, we do not destroy surrendered vessels, and we absolutely do not attack medical facilities, even theirs. We are revealing our capabilities today, but not at the cost of our humanity. She straightened, somehow managing to look each captain in the eye, despite the virtual nature of the meeting. The Sorlaxians believe they've witnessed human weakness. Show them human strength instead. Steal out. As the hologram faded, Rodriguez turned to her XO, sound general quarters, and get me Chief Engineer Patel. Within minutes, the lunar hangar's massive doors began to part, revealing a fleet that no non-military human had ever seen, let alone any alien observer. The EFS consequences led the formation of vessel that bore little resemblance to the clunky utilitarian designs Earth had been parading around the galactic community. Where conventional Earth ships were boxy and pragmatically designed, the consequences was sleek darkness, its hull composed of light-absorbing metamaterials that made it appear like a ship-shaped hole in space. Its weapons systems weren't the bolted-on afterthoughts of civilian vessels converted for defense. They were integrated, elegant, and utterly lethal. As engineering brought the quantum drives online, Rodriguez addressed her crew through the ship's comm system. For 5 years we've hidden in shadows, trained in silence, and waited for the day when someone would mistake our restraint for weakness. Today, some poor bastards decided to test whether humanity's compassion makes us soft. She paused. They're about to learn that nothing is more dangerous than a species that values mercy, until you make that impossible. The ship hummed beneath her feet as the quantum drive spooled up, creating the controlled singularity that would fold space around them. Battle stations, Rodriguez ordered, settling into her command chair. Let's go teach an object lesson about hospital ships. Captain Krax of the Ozorlaxian Imperial warship Inevitable Victory was having an excellent day. The successful strike against the human medical vessel had already earned him commendations from high command, with promises of promotion to follow. The humans had proven exactly as soft as the military intelligence reports had suggested, all their technological prowess wasted on healing rather than conquest. Pathetic. Status report, he barked, reclining in his command throne. His second, Sub-Commander Vexel, responded promptly. The human vessel has been completely neutralized, glorious Captain. Debris field analysis confirms total structural failure. We are continuing to monitor for escape pod signatures, but most were destroyed during the secondary targeting phase. Excellent. Krax's facial spines fluttered in satisfaction. Any response from Earth? Only diplomatic channels, glorious Captain. Their ambassador is demanding explanations and making threats of sanctions. Vexel's tone conveyed exactly how seriously they took such threats. Krax let out a rattling laugh. Sanctions. Did they sanction us when we annexed the Beltorian territories? Did they sanction us when we harvested the moons of Draxus IV? The humans have no teeth, Vexel. They build magnificent technology and waste it on peace. Sir, a sensor operator interrupted. We're detecting multiple fold space signatures approaching. Configuration matches Earth fleet vessels. How many? Krax asked lazily. 8 vessels. Standard Earth configuration. Destroyer class. Krax waved a clawed hand dismissively. Let them come. Earth ships are known quantities under armed and over-shielded. They prioritize crew survival over offensive capability. He turned to his weapons officer. Power up main batteries, but hold fire until they're within optimal range. Let's add a few more human wrecks to this debris field. As predicted, the Earth vessels dropped out of fold space at a respectful distance, immediately adopting a defensive formation. Their communication attempt came moments later. This is Captain Tanner of the Earth Fleet ship Steadfast. You have attacked and destroyed an unarmed medical vessel in violation of all interstellar conventions. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Krax nearly choked on his own amusement. They're demanding our surrender, with 8 obsolete destroyers. He composed himself enough to respond. Earth vessel, this is Captain Krax of the Imperial Sorlaxian Navy. Your hospital ship was unfortunately mistaken for a military transport. A tragic error. However, your demand is rejected. Leave this space or join your comrades in oblivion. The Earth ships began advancing in a standard approach pattern, exactly as the tactical simulations had predicted they would. They're so predictable, Krax mused. It's almost disappointing. Weapons, target their propulsion systems first. Let's cripple them and then take our time. The Orlaxian battle group surged forward, their superior numbers and firepower giving them absolute confidence. The first volleys struck the Earthship's shields with satisfying flares of energy. But their shields are holding but degrading exactly as expected, reported the weapons officer. 2 more volleys should. The tactical officer interrupted with uncharacteristic alarm. Sir, multiple new fold space signatures detected. These aren't matching any known Earth configurations. Krax stood abruptly. Show me. The tactical display shifted to reveal new vessels emerging from fold space ships unlike anything in the Orlaxian database. Where Earth vessels were typically bulky and utilitarian, these were predatory in design, their hulls seeming to absorb rather than reflect light. What are those? Krax demanded. Before anyone could speculate, the first wave of Earth ships suddenly altered their behavior. Their seemingly predictable approach had positioned the Sorlaxian fleet perfectly between them and the new arrivals. The largest of the new vessels, sleek, dark, and bristling with weapons systems that definitely weren't in any intelligence briefing, opened a communication channel. Captain Rodriguez's face appeared on the main screen, her expression one of cold professionalism. Sorlaxian vessels, this is Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Earth Fleet Ship Consequences. The vessels you engaged were a courtesy we wanted to give you the fight you were expecting before introducing ourselves properly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Consider this humanity's formal notification that Protocol Omega is now in effect. Krax's spines flattened against his skull, a Sorlaxian expression of confusion. Protocol Omega. What deception is this? Rodriguez continued as if he hadn't spoken. You attacked a hospital ship with 3,000 patients aboard. We typically respond to aggression proportionally, but there's really no proportional response to that level of barbarism. So instead, we're going to introduce you to humanity's actual military capability. Krax turned to his tactical officer in alarm. Scan those ships. What are we dealing with? Energy readings are off the scale, glorious Captain, the officer replied, his voice trembling. Their weapons systems are unlike anything in our database, and their shields. He paused, rechecking his instruments. Their shields appear to be operating on different principles entirely. These aren't the Earth ships we've studied. On screen, Rodriguez smiled thinly. For 30 years, we've shown you what we wanted you to see. Deliberately underpowered ships, conspicuously visible weapons systems. All very impressive to look at, completely mediocre in capability. A carefully crafted illusion while we built the real fleet in secret. She leaned forward. Here's the reality check you've earned. Those were our hospital ships. These are our warships, and you're about to understand the difference. The transmission cut off abruptly. In the silence that followed, Krax felt something he hadn't experienced since his earliest military training, the cold, creeping certainty of having catastrophically miscalculated. The evasive maneuvers. He shouted, "All ships, prepare to." He never finished the order. The first volley from the Consequences didn't target their engines or weapons systems. Instead, precision strikes disabled their communications array in a surgical demonstration of targeting capability that shouldn't have been possible at this range. They've isolated us, the communications officer reported unnecessarily. Krax stared at the tactical display as the new Earth vessels moved with impossible grace, their formations unlike any military doctrine he'd studied. It was at that moment he realized they weren't fighting the enemy they thought they knew. They were fighting an enemy that had been watching, learning, and deliberately hiding its strength. And they had provoked this enemy by attacking its healers. The consequences sliced through space like a predator finally unleashed, its movement nothing like the lumbering Earth ships the Orlaxians had studied. Captain Rodriguez stood calmly at the command center as her crew executed the battle plan with precision born of years of shadow training. Phase capacitors at full charge, reported her weapons officer. Weisnorf. Weisa. Targeting solutions locked for all primary Sorlaxian vessels. Rodriguez nodded. Execute pattern Sierra. Remember our priorities: neutralize their offensive capabilities first, propulsion systems second, and scan continuously for Mercy survivors. The ship's AI acknowledged with a soft chime. Pattern Sierra confirmed. Executing in 3, 2, 1. The consequences released a barrage of weapons that had never been seen outside classified test ranges. Instead of conventional energy weapons that struck shields in predictable ways, these phase-shifted projectiles partially existed in alternate space-time, passing through Sorlaxian shields as if they weren't there before resolving fully inside their targets. Direct hits on all primary targets, the tactical officer reported, not bothering to hide his satisfaction. Their weapons systems are showing cascading failures. They literally don't know what hit them. On the tactical display, the first wave of Earth ships that had appeared conventional suddenly transformed their attack pattern, revealing capabilities that had been masked until now. Stealth fields dropped, showing additional weapons and placements that had been concealed beneath false hull segments. The Sorlaxian fleet's disciplined formation dissolved into chaos as ships tried to react to threats they'd never trained for. Their return fire, when they managed it, dissipated harmlessly against the advanced shielding of the Earth vessels. "Sir," one of Rodriguez's officers called out. "We're detecting emergency life pod signatures in the debris field. Some of the Mercy's pods survived." Rodriguez's expression hardened. "Tactical, continue neutralizing the Orlaxian offensive capabilities. Commander Wells, take a strike team in the rapid response shuttles for survivor recovery. Authorization to use whatever force necessary to protect those pods." As the recovery operation began, the Orlaxian command ship attempted to rally its forces. Captain Crax's voice broke through on an emergency broadcast frequency. "Earth vessels, ceasefire. We acknowledge our error and offer immediate surrender." Rodriguez's laugh was short and sharp. "That's not how this works. Your surrender would have been accepted before you fired on our hospital ship." She cut the transmission and turned to her communications officer. "Send a prepared message to all Sorlaxian vessels." Moments later, every Sorlaxian ship received the same simple text message in their native language. "This is what happens when you attack healers." What followed was not the wholesale destruction the Sorlaxians feared, but something almost more terrifying in its precision. The Earth fleet systematically disabled every Sorlaxian vessel without destroying them. Weapons, engines, and communications methodically neutralized until the ships floated helplessly. In the debris field, Commander Wells' recovery team located 23 survival pods from the Mercy, containing a total of 117 survivors, a fraction of the original complement, but more than anyone had dared hope for. "Captain," Wells reported back, "we've secured all survivors. Medical teams are assessing them now. Dr. Finnegan is among them." "Good," Rodriguez replied. "Get them back to safety. We're almost finished here." On the Orlaxian command ship, Captain Crax watched in impotent fury as his mighty battle group was reduced to floating hulks. His tactical officer approached tentatively. "Glorious Captain, they've disabled our engines and weapons, but they're not destroying us." They could easily eliminate every ship, but they're leaving us alive. Krax's facial spines flattened completely, the Sorlaxian equivalent of blanching. Because this isn't about destroying us. This is a message. They want witnesses. As if confirming his realization, a final transmission came through from the consequences. Sorlaxian vessels, your life support systems remain functional. Your distress beacons remain active. Unlike you, we don't target those who cannot fight back. A rescue fleet from your home world will find you eventually. When they do, make sure they understand exactly what happened here. You attacked a hospital ship. We responded with restraint. Don't mistake that restraint for weakness. There won't be a second warning. The Earth fleet regrouped around the recovered survival pods, their formation shifting to an escort pattern. With a synchronized maneuver that spoke volumes about their technological sophistication, they opened fold space portals and disappeared, leaving behind the disabled Sorlaxian fleet and a profound silence. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 spacefaring civilizations sat in stunned silence as they reviewed the footage from the battle, provided simultaneously by Earth's diplomatic corps and the rescued survivors of the EMS Mercy. Admiral Steele stood before them, her uniform immaculate, her expression unreadable. Beside her stood Dr. Jack Finnegan, still wearing the scorched medical uniform he'd had on when his escape pod was recovered. The contrast between them, the pristine military commander and the battle-worn doctor, seemed to perfectly encapsulate the day's events. Members of the Council. Steele began. For 30 years, humanity has presented itself as a technically advanced but militarily moderate power. This was a deliberate choice made when we first encountered evidence of interstellar civilizations. History has taught us that appearing too threatening invites preemptive action, while appearing too weak invites predation. She gestured to the holographic display showing the remains of the Mercy alongside images of the Earth fleet's response. The Sorlaxian attack forced our hand. Protocol Omega was enacted, revealing a portion of Earth's true defensive capabilities. The portion. The Arcturian ambassador's translator conveyed both the words and the incredulity behind them. Steele merely smiled. I've been authorized to provide technical specifications on the vessels and weapons systems employed against the Sorlaxian fleet, which we are submitting to the Council's archives. This is not a boast, it's a courtesy. We believe in transparency now. The Sorlaxian ambassador, noticeably lacking the arrogance that had characterized his species' diplomatic corps, rose shakily. The hegemony formally apologizes for this unauthorized military action and offers reparations to the families of those lost on the human medical vessel. Unauthorized? Dr. Finnegan stepped forward, his voice raspy from smoke inhalation but carrying a razor edge. Funny how a dozen of your capital ships all simultaneously suffered from the same authorization problem. Before the ambassador could respond, Finnegan continued, addressing the Council directly. I'm not a diplomat or a soldier. I'm just a doctor who watched patients under his care die because someone decided a ship with big red crosses on it made a good target. So let me make something absolutely clear that Admiral Steele is too professional to say. He limped closer to the center of the chamber. Humanity has a split personality disorder when it comes to war. We have built the most sophisticated medical ships in the galaxy because we genuinely want to help everyone. We've shared medical technology freely because suffering offends us on a fundamental level. But we built those secret warships for a reason. Finnegan's eyes swept the chamber. Throughout our history, we've learned one consistent lesson: be excellent at healing, but be even better at hurting those who would prevent you from healing. The consequences isn't just a clever ship name, it's a philosophy. Admiral Steele smoothly stepped back in. What Dr. Finnegan is expressing, albeit bluntly, is humanity's core principle. We will continually extend the hand of friendship and aid. but we are prepared to defend that extended hand with overwhelming force if necessary. She turned specifically to the Osorlaxian ambassador. Your government has already received our terms. The MSS Hope, sister ship to the Mercy, will arrive in your home system within the week to provide medical assistance for your southeastern continent's radiation crisis. You will accept this aid, you will protect this vessel with your own fleet, and you will remember what happens when you mistake compassion for weakness. As the council session adjourned, Dr. Finnegan found himself beside Admiral Steele in the antechamber. Nice speech, Admiral. Very diplomatic. Steele's professional facade cracked slightly. Yours wasn't bad either, Doctor. A bit more colorful than our official position, but effective. There's one thing I still don't understand, Finnegan said quietly. You could have annihilated their entire fleet. Why leave them disabled instead? Steele considered him for a moment before answering. Because dead warriors tell no tales, Doctor. But survivors with wounded pride, they tell very compelling ones. Her smile was thin. By tomorrow, every power in the galaxy will know exactly what happens when you attack a human hospital ship. That's a lesson worth keeping some enemies alive to teach. Finnegan nodded slowly. You know what the strangest part is? The MSS Hope will go to their system, and our doctors will treat their sick with the same care we'd give anyone else. After everything they did. Of course we will, Steele replied. That's the most important message of all. She straightened her uniform and prepared to return to the council chamber for the next session. They attacked a hospital ship and discovered our capacity for violence. But when we send another hospital ship to help them anyway, that's when they'll truly understand humanity. Finnegan laughed a genuine sound despite everything he'd been through. So the moral of the story is, don't attack healers, Steele finished for him. Especially not the ones from a species crazy enough to perfect both saving lives and taking them. It tends to bring out our less charming qualities. As they parted ways, the doctor to oversee the medical integration of the Mercy survivors, the Admiral to continue managing the diplomatic fallout, both carried the same thought. Humanity had finally shown its full hand to the galactic community. Whether that would lead to lasting peace or new challenges remained to be seen. But one thing was certain, no one would be attacking Earth hospital ships again anytime soon.